All right, all right. All right, we're gonna get started in a second. Peace, family. All right, getting set up here. Peace, family. Y'all know who it is. It's Bakari Lumumba back once again. The progenitor of LumumbaSpeaks.com, a Black empowerment initiative where we and always betting on Black. Right. So we're back once again, and we're doing another video where we're asking the question: has hip hop helped or harmed or hurt the Black community? As many of you may be aware, 1 week ago today was the 49th anniversary, the 49th birthday of the musical genre and subculture known as, of course, hip hop. And so we're here today to ask once again another provocative question regarding has hip hop helped or, of course, hurt the Black community? So we want everyone to tap in and, of course, give their perspective on what they think, right? But first and foremost, just kind of got to set the boundaries, set the rules. Once again, facts over feelings. We want to be intellectually honest. We don't want anyone to come on and be intellectually disingenuous. We want people to be completely honest regarding their perspective on the question tonight. And also, what is most important, no name to call in. We don't use any racial epithets whatsoever. We can agree to disagree, and we could do that in, of course, a civil manner. So with that being said, I'm going to get started here. We're going to play a video that talks a little bit about the origins of hip hop. And then, of course, we're going to jump in and start our dialogue. So
1973, a young Jamaican-born New Yorker known as DJ Kool Herc threw a party in the South Bronx. With a pair of turntables, he improvised a technique that isolated and repeated musical breaks That technique would lay the foundation for a genre known as hip-hop. Hip-hop music emerged from house parties in the Bronx and spread like wildfire between friends and neighbors at block parties. The new sound was electrifying.
In the schoolyard during recess, someone would have a boombox. And then someone would start rhyming. You didn't have recorded versions of hip-hop at that time.
Within a few years, it had become an underground cultural movement, and its distribution was homemade.
You couldn't purchase albums or records, and you couldn't hear hip-hop on the radio. The only way that you could participate in the culture musically was through these cassette tapes, which would circulate all throughout the city.
As its influence deepened and broadened, the music spread from the underground onto the radio. In 1979, a group from suburban New Jersey released Rapper's Delight, one of the first hip-hop records.
Now what you hear is not a test, I'm rapping to the beat. And me, the groove, and my friends are gonna try to make you feel.
And the Sugar Hill Gang's hit was just the beginning. As hip-hop evolved, it became a passion shared by millions of young Americans who used it to articulate their identity and their politics, creating a vibrant, multicultural community across the country.
Our generation of young people, we had to find new ways to communicate, just getting on records and speaking about the truth.
Its lyrics reflected the social and economic conditions of the inner cities, as seen through the eyes of the people.
Chuck D, who said, it's the CNN of the Black community. It's actually reporting on all of these things that we've experienced in poetry form and musical form.
In 2017, hip-hop surpassed rock as America's #1 stream genre for the first time ever. Decades after its birth, hip-hop has grown from its underground origins in the Bronx to become one of the most popular genres of music throughout the world.
before you go, make sure you hit the subscribe and like button. Thank you for supporting the channel. And remember, here at Lumumba Speaks, we always bet on Black. Peace. All right, so we're back at it. Make sure you hit the subscribe and like button. I'm going to put the link in the chat. So if you want to hop on, share your perspective. We're asking the question, has hip hop helped or, of course, harmed the Black community? Once again, we want to make sure that we're being intellectually honest, dealing in facts over, of course, feelings. And then last and not least, if there is a disagreement, we're not going to argue. We can have a civil conversation, civil discourse. And if you just want to have a conversation regarding has hip hop helped or harmed the Black community, as you all know, I just put the link in the chat. And as I stated before, today, a week ago today, was the 49th anniversary, of course, of hip hop, right? So many people ask the question, and one of the questions I want to ask, if we get some people to come on, of course, is what is the difference between, of course, rap and hip hop? So as I stated before, make sure you hit the subscribe and like button. The link is in the chat if you want to come on, be part of the conversation. You don't have to cam up, but you can still come on and be part of the conversation. We're asking the question, has hip hop helped or, of course, harmed or hurt the Black community, right? So as we stated before, just a little background on hip hop. Many people may be aware that hip hop is a derivative of other African-American musical genres, particularly jazz, blues, and of course, R&B, also known as rhythm and blues, right? Also need to know that, of course, hip hop was created by the first generation of African Americans to not have to live under what legal segregation. We may have been living under de jure segregation, right? Where it was in practice but not in name. But hip hop was created by the first generation of African Americans to actually not live under legalized segregation. We're talking about Jim Crowism, right? Matter of fact, we should do a show on not only Jim Crowism, but the new Jim Crow, and of course, the brilliant work that strong warrior scholar sister Michelle Alexander put forth with her book that came out actually about 10, 11, 12 years ago, entitled The New Jim Crow. So we're asking the question once again, has hip hop helped, of course, harmed the Black community? Then we could get into a conversation about some of the core elements of hip hop, right? Why is hip hop considered a subculture? I know I had some individuals on my Facebook who kind of asked that question. What do you mean it's a subculture? What do you mean by that? So we'd love for some people to come on, have a vibrant conversation where where we're basically discussing, has hip hop helped or, of course, harmed the Black community? So don't be afraid to tap in. Looking forward to having a brilliant conversation, a very robust conversation, intellectually provocative conversation regarding if hip hop has helped or, of course, harmed the Black community. So hope everyone could tap in, and then we could have a great conversation regarding that. So one of the things I would do is I would just talk about the 5 dimensions, of course, of hip hop culture. And the first being graffiti, right? Second is DJing, emceeing, breaking. We had the B-boys and the B-girls, right? Then last but not least, it's the clothing, right? Many people may be unaware that there's actually 5 core elements of hip hop, right? I consider myself a hip hop head. I would call growing up, where, part of hip hop culture was if you were going to be an MC, if you were going to be a DJ, if you were going to be a B-boy or a B-girl, you had to what? Own that. And then you had to prove that that's who you were and what you were about by what? Being able to perform publicly. As Henry Louis Gates, Dr. Henry Louis Gates eloquently stated in the video, one of the reasons why this was the case because the music wasn't being recorded at the time, right? And so as a result, you had to prove that you are who you say you are, right? So when we talk about hip hop, you had to show and prove, right? And of course, hip hop is one of the only genres of music, in which there are battles, right? Where individuals will then go head to head in terms of not only their DJing skills or breaking and dancing, but also emceeing. We know one of the greatest battles in hip hop history, of course, was the battle between Nas and, of course, Jay-Z that took place during the summer, fall of 2001. So we're asking the question once again, has hip hop helped or harmed the Black community? The link is in the chat. Please feel free to tap in. We won't be before you long, but definitely want to get some other perspectives. What are other individuals' views regarding has hip hop helped or, of course, hurt the Black community? So once again, I know it's late. You could tap in. You don't have to cam up, but would love to hear some individuals' perspectives regarding their views of hip hop and, of course, has it helped or, of course, harmed the Black community? Many people argue due to the proliferation of gangster rap, right? Mafioso rap and rapping about not only selling drugs, but even doing drugs, right? It's about Molly Percocet, as they say, right? So many people would argue, of course, that has harmed the Black community. But one of the questions that we want to ask, of course, is what is the difference between hip hop and rap? And so if you're going to have a critique of hip hop, like many people have had, do you actually know what hip hop is, and do you know that there is a difference? And can you differentiate, of course, between the two? So, as I said it before, the link is in the chat. Feel free to hit the subscribe and, of course, the like button. Wanted to get some people on, and of course, have a very robust and intelligent conversation about, has hip hop helped or, of course, hurt the Black community? So feel free to tap in. Look forward to some people coming on, and of course, us having a great conversation about, of course, has hip hop helped or, of course, harmed the Black community? So I would state this, and many people, when they make the argument, what is the difference between hip hop and rap? I always quote the great KRS-One. We're talking about Knowledge Reign Supreme, coming out of the Boogie Down Bronx. And one of the things that he stated in one of his rhymes was that rappers spit rhymes that are mostly illegal. MCs spit rhymes to uplift their people, right? And so what we would argue is that an MC is someone who is understanding that there's a socially conscious aspect of lyricism, of the music that they must promote, while a rapper is someone who is simply is kind of, and no pun on P. Diddy or Puff Daddy, but all about the Benjamins, right? To where there's no care concern about the greater good, as long as they're able to promote an artistic form of music that allows them to bring about the greatest financial windfall. And so that's one of the questions I hope we can have this evening when we're having a conversation regarding, has hip hop helped or, of course, hurt the Black community? But as I stated before, the link is in the chat. Please feel free to tap in. And of course, we will have a great conversation talking about authenticity and, of course, has hip hop helped or hurt the Black community? So that's what we're going to do today. Well, it looked like we didn't have anyone log on to this evening, so I guess we're going to shut it down. I'll keep it up just a little bit. Hopefully we get some people to tap in the next 5 minutes. But of course, we're looking to have a robust conversation here at Lumumba Speaks, where we believe in always betting on Black, facts over feelings, where we're arguing. We want to have an intellectual, robust conversation regarding, has hip hop helped or, of course, hurt the Black community? Many people have argued for the past 40, 50 years that hip hop has done irreparable harm to the Black community. And many people have even argued, particularly elders, scholars, and the like, that they would wish that had never been created. But for those of you who do not know, hip hop was created 49 years ago, last week on August 11, 1973. Jamaican American DJ by the name of DJ Kool Herc started a back to school block party in the South Bronx, the Boogie Down Bronx, Sedgwick Avenue. And before you know it, the musical genre and subculture known as hip hop was created. So just want to have a conversation about that. Make sure you hit the subscribe and like button. And then, of course, we just want to have a facts and intellectually robust conversation regarding hip hop. Did it do harm? Is it a benefit to the Black community? And then we'll take it from there. So hopefully we could get some people to come on. If not, I'm going to shut it down. Yeah, so as I said before, we just want to have a robust conversation regarding, has hip hop helped or hurt the Black community? The link is in the chat if you want to come on, be part of the conversation, interested in hearing what other people have to say, their views on hip hop, the difference between rap and hip hop. And of course, if you were you aware of the fact that hip hop is considered a subculture of African American culture? Many people are familiar with the fact that hip hop is a musical genre, right? That is a derivative, of course, of blues, jazz, and of course R&B. But many individuals may be unaware of the fact that hip hop is also a subculture of African American culture. And many people even argue that hip hop derives its origins to the spoken word album that Muhammad Ali dropped in 1963, right? Or 63 or 73. But Muhammad Ali, he was known, he had the gift, the gab, and many people would argue that he was the originator of trash talking, of course, boxing. But anyone who was in the know regarding being a boxing aficionado, it's a way that he actually learned and picked that up from one Archie Moore, who was an all-time great light heavyweight champion, right? Who, of course, fought out of San Diego, California, and didn't actually fight for the title, I believe, until he was 40 years old. But that's a conversation for another day. But many people argue that Muhammad Ali's spoken word album, where, you know, he was engaged in spoken word, talking trash, he had the gift of rhyme. They put that on the backdrop, set that up with music. And many people argue or even cite that as the origins of hip hop, as a precursor to, of course, what the suburban New Jersey group known as the Sugar Hill Gang was able to do. So once again, we're here at Lumumba Speaks, reminding you all to always bet on Black. If you're watching, the link is in the chat. We just want to have a robust conversation regarding has hip hop helped or hurt the Black community, due to, of course, the fact that a week ago today, hip hop celebrated its 49th birthday as not only a musical genre, but a subculture of African American culture, right? And so when we talk about the 5 core elements of hip hop that make up this subculture, it includes, of course, graffiti, breakdancing, emceeing, DJing, and of course the clothing, right? So with that being said, I see that we're not having any people log on, so I'm gonna log off. Appreciate everyone who did stop in, and until next time, you all know what to do. Peace.